Still cool.
Yeah.
Fake out.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Progress the Woodfin Way. My name is Arthur Fisher Jr., and I will be your host today. I'm an engineer at Southern Company and also an advocate for different nonprofit organizations here in Birmingham who are here to ensure that Birmingham continues to move in a positive and progressive direction. I do want to formally thank those great musicians who just shared their musical talents with us. What you just heard was talent from one of the city's very own Nathaniel Bagley, who was the trumpeter in the video. Nathaniel serves as the claims adjuster in the office of the city attorney. The other musicians joining him were Vincent Perry jamming on the keyboard and Eugene Black strumming that funk on the bass guitar. Together they make up the Private Property Jazz Band. The piece you just heard was Tuxedo Junction. It was written by the renowned and Birmingham bred Erskine Hawkins. Brother Hawkins was an alumni of Parker High School and Alabama State University. Today, I want to welcome you to this event. It is an event that lives up to Mayor Woodfin's commitment to give a biannual update for the community about where the city is on the strategic initiatives. And today, we have an amazing lineup of leaders who will give you updates on some wonderful things we have going on in this city. So let's get it started. I would like to introduce to you Amanda Creel and David Lucas as our event host. Amanda is the CEO of the Birmingham Association of Realtors and Greater Alabama MLS. Creel is on the advisory board for Realtor.com and National Real Estate Ethics Day. Previously, Creel also served on the MMSI Association Management System. Creel has a long history of leading by example when advocating on behalf of private property owners and the real estate industry. Creel is an Alabama native who received her bachelor's degree in journalism from Auburn University. She is married to Justin Creel and is the proud mother of two boys, Avery and Sawyer. We also have David Lucas, who is the designated managing broker for eXp Realty in Alabama, which has over 850 realtors in this state. Prior to entering the real estate industry, David served 20 years as a police officer with the city of Birmingham and the city of Hoover. He served as the 2020 president of the Birmingham Association of Realtors, AKA BAR, and currently serves on the executive committee. David was also awarded the BAR's Broker of the Year back in 2015 and was recently named BAR 2020 Realtor of the Year. David and his wife, Peggy, have been married for over 31 years and have two sons. Donovan, who was a police officer for the city of Birmingham, and also Daniel, who was an IT specialist in the US Navy. First, we will hear from David and then Amanda. David?
Actually, it's going to be the opposite. I apologize. It's Amanda. So it is our pleasure to assist Birmingham and Mayor Woodfin with today's event. We believe in partnering and are grateful for the opportunity to be stronger together. It is my pleasure now to pass the baton to the fabulous David Lucas and BAR's immediate past president to share more about some of the things our realtors and our association are doing, both in the city of Birmingham and beyond.
Thank you, Amanda. First off, thank you, Mayor Randall Woodfin, for putting on this event, because this is truly a great way to communicate throughout the community as far as what's happening in their community, and we as realtors greatly appreciate that, because I get asked a lot in the times that I speak, why use a realtor? And my immediate response is, well, realtors build communities. I mean, we are in the communities. We are your neighbors. We are the people who, from every now and then, their dog gets out. We are those type of individuals. We are in this community. And we are in, the Birmingham Association of Realtors is in 39 municipalities in this state, which is a tremendous impact locally and statewide as far as people that are champions for a city. So one of the most interesting things, though, that I really like is that NAR did a survey not too long ago that actually, and you probably hear the third child in the background, that would be the boxer. I apologize. He's needy. But NAR just recently did a survey where 72% of realtors stated that they were involved in their communities. And to me, that's a great number. I mean, you're talking about 1.6 million nationwide, and we're talking close to 5,000 in the Birmingham metro area. Those 5,000, 72% of those people are involved deeply in their communities. And we advocate for property rights. That's what we do. And we want to make sure that that first-time home buyers get that home that they want, that the retirement couple gets the home that they want, that the in-between folks find that house that they want. But in this market, we're kind of short on them, but at least we're working on it. But we try to do that for our communities. And as being a realtor, is a little different than being a real estate licensee, in the fact that realtors are held to a higher standard. We have to abide by something that is called the Code of Ethics. And the Code of Ethics requires us to do certain things at a greater and higher level. And so I'm proud to be held to that code. But one of the ways, though, that we have found that we have a tremendous impact on our community, though, is through our outreach and our advocacy of everything from our educational events on fair housing. We just recently had a great economic summit downtown. The mayor was able to stop by with us, so we greatly appreciated that. And then one of the other things that we did this year, just to help within our community, was we actually did a COVID-19 clinic. So we are trying to outreach as much as possible in an impactful way, not just show up, but actually be there and engage in our community, and especially in the great city of Birmingham. So we are here as advocates for you. We are here as advocates for the community, and we are here to help and to grow the sense of community for Birmingham.
Thank you so much for that amazing introduction, Amanda and David. Our next speakers that we have are Ed Fields and Amelia Muller. Ed Fields serves as the Senior Advisor and Chief Strategist for the City of Birmingham's Mayor's Office. And in his role, Ed is responsible for strategic planning, thought leadership, and supporting transformative projects on behalf of Mayor Wood. We also have Amelia Muller, who serves as Civic Design Principal on the strategy team in the Mayor's Office. A trained urban planner with a background in tech and higher education, Amelia's work sits at the intersection of urban planning and civic innovation. She leads on strategic initiatives like the Bloomberg Mayor's Challenge and our Magic City recovery efforts. Together, they will provide a strategy office update, which will include an overview of the city's strategic plan, a look into the city's strategic and special initiatives, as well as an overview of some of the city's public-private partnerships. Now I'll turn it over to Chief Ed Fields.
All right, good morning. Thank you so much, Arthur. You are a great example of what progress looks like in the city of Birmingham as a graduate of the Mayor's Academy of Civic Engagement. So listen, Amelia and I are going to share some basic information, give you some context, give you some insights, and really pave the way for the mayor's remarks and put you all in a position to engage in a question and answer opportunity with the mayor. So let me start here for background. The mayor has made it a practice since he's been in office to engage in public discussions on his agenda, what he seeks to do for the city of Birmingham. And that started day one. It really started before day one in 2017, as he had a culmination of a 50,000 person survey, if you will, in the form of knocking on doors and talking to residents. In addition to that, he talked to employees and then engaged a 100-day transition period. That's important for you to know, because if we talk about the mayor's strategic plan and agenda, you need to know it's not just his thoughts. He's a great reconciler. And so in October 2018, we published the Woodfin Way, the mayor's strategic plan for progress in the city of Birmingham. You can go online and find a full copy of that plan. What we'll do today is really provide you with an overview of where we are. And it'll be a very skinny overview because we have a broader purpose or a deeper purpose for our conversation today. So within that plan, there were 6 goals. If you advance the slides, you will find those 6 goals here on the next slide. You all can read this for yourself. You can go past that one. I just spoke to the number of goals, that one right there. So these 6 goals, I just want to pause for a second and remind us that what we are doing is on purpose. Even in the midst of a crazy season of 2020, we found opportunities to continue to drive an agenda on purpose. And so the next slide will show you that we track where we are. We had 102 strategic initiatives starting in October 2018, and our team has been tracking where we are on each of those initiatives all the way through. Now, typically in these, and I'll simply say here, as you can see, 90% of everything the mayor said that he wanted to do is either completed or very well in progress. There are another 10% of items that we found some duplication on. We found unique opportunities to combine, or after a period of diligence found it just didn't make sense. And so follow up with us if you want to have a conversation about any of the aforementioned. We're going to do something different today, though. Today, we're going to talk about really 3 things. Our public-private partnerships, which Amelia will cover. And then we're going to have an alternate version of these public conversations. Typically, we would go through all 102 initiatives and show you where we are per initiative in terms of project phase. We're not doing that this time. Instead, we're going to take the concept of neighborhood revitalization and not just talk about streets and potholes and dilapidated houses and overgrown lots and land bank, but we're going to choose one of those and go much deeper. So you will hear from the leadership of our land bank and really understand where we are, what's happened, and really where do we go from here and how do you play into it. And then related to that, of course, we're exactly 1 week away from the 365-day mark on the World Games, the largest event of its kind on U.S. soil, and so in the immediate future. So you're going to hear from the CEO and the person driving that, Nick Sellers. But I want to give you just a little bit more context before I go through a lightning round of updates, and that's this. We partnered with the Birmingham Association of Realtors for one very significant reason. They are effectively the largest sales force we have for the city of Birmingham, y'all. They're the ones who are pitching our story. And so we want realtors to understand exactly what the mayor's vision is and what we are doing to support that vision so that they can be even more effective in their job, which is good for them and obviously good for the city. And obviously the land bank is the largest strategic landholder of blighted properties in the city. We thought it'd do well for you all to hear from them. So I'm going to take about 10 seconds per slide on the next 10 slides. You can time me if you want to. I'm going to go fast, so hang on. Last time we had this conversation, we knew that our department heads wanted to hear more about the collective successes. And we know that you want to know, what are our departments doing to really affect change in the city of Birmingham? So I've got 10 for you. Here we go. First up, the Office of Sports and Entertainment recently held an athletes roundtable with NFL athletes and recent alums, Marcellus Darius, Casanova McKenzie, James Bradbury. These are folks that are active or recently retired or on pause, but folks who are doing summer camps and really engaged. They're opening establishments in the city of Birmingham. Our Office of Sports and Entertainment actually hosted them at a Barons game last week and opened the door for future opportunities. Next up, the Office of City Attorney recently reported results of the Drug Nuisance Abatement Task Force. You can find news on this if you Google it. But this is our city attorney, Nicole King. Y'all, blight doesn't just happen on its own. It happens because there are accelerants, and sometimes we have properties that really, really need help because property owners are not doing what they're supposed to do. They're violating the law. So 124 drug nuisance locations have been investigated, and we've had some success with several of them being brought to justice. That's good news. Next up, community development recently broke ground on 28 new affordable homes in Inslee in partnership with the NCRC. These 28 homes are the first of many to come through a $25 million partnership. So kudos to community development. We're excited about Oak Hill. Next up, yesterday evening, our finance department really put the mayor in a position to get his budget passed. And by the way, it was passed without amendments, without adjustments. That means that there was a lot of work and diligence done, not only by our finance team, but multiple team members. And the mayor will probably speak to his budget here in his remarks. Great job, team. Next up, the Birmingham Police Department has really been at it. We know that we've been dealing with a historic rise in gun violence. You need to know that that's being met with vigilance and being matched with energy from the Birmingham Police Department. They've seized nearly 1,500 guns in just the first half of this year. Look for updates on the efforts of BPD here in July. Next up, Birmingham Fire and Rescue. This is a little known fact, y'all. Chief Moon, our Fire Chief Moon shared this with the mayor and his leadership team recently on Father's Day when we dealt with that incredible flooding and tragic flooding. There were more than at least 23 water rescues on that day. There were nearly 24 lives saved that many of you don't know about. So if you know a fire professional or you're engaged in the fire department, you need to know it's a big deal. We appreciate you, even when the rest of us cannot see the great work that you're doing. Next up, the Department of Human Resources recently announced a city-funded healthcare clinic that will support employees and their dependents. This is a big deal. This will be cost savings for the city, which means it's cost saving for our taxpayers and residents. The savings on those healthcare costs will go back into neighborhood revitalization. But first and foremost, we are making sure that our employees are being taken care of with first-class healthcare. All right, we're coming down to the end. Second of last, if I'm not mistaken, Civilian Review Board was announced in April, but in July will be launched. It will be toward the end of July that this really historic measure of transparency around police reform will go live. So look for that in late July. The Civilian Review Board will be up and out. Kudos to the Mayor's Office of Peace and Policy for getting us there. And I've got two more. The Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity has partnered with other economic development leaders to bring landing here 816 jobs plus, obviously, will be coming to Birmingham from San Francisco. Thanks to Bill Smith, a current serial entrepreneur here in the city of Birmingham, and our team for supporting him and bringing those jobs. We hope that this is round two of many more to come. And then lastly, this was I guess it's an oldie but goodie now. We announced in April, but we're still working through a very heavy load related to Pardons for Progress. This is one of the most transformative and wide sweeping efforts from the mayor's office of the city of Birmingham, where the mayor has pardoned more than 15,000 residents of marijuana convictions, really paving the way for them to get jobs and to be participating in this incredible period of economic inclusion and economic opportunity. So that's my lightning round. I'm actually going to hand it over to Amelia, who will talk about public-private partnerships out of the mayor's strategy team. Amelia.
Thank you, Chief Fields. It's great to be with you all today. So as Arthur noted in his introduction, I serve as Civic Design Principal in the Mayor's Office, and I lead a number of our public-private partnerships as well as our Magic City recovery efforts, which I'm here to tell you a little bit more about. So what is the Magic City Recovery Plan? It's our coordinated effort to ensure that we are maximizing federal dollars and the support of local and national partners to help you, your family, and neighborhood recover from the impacts of COVID-19. The figures on the left here are a breakdown of the dollars the city has received or will be receiving over the coming months to address COVID impacts. We're working hard to ensure that resources like emergency rental assistance are getting out the door as quickly as possible. And we're also working to make sure families and businesses know how to take advantage of direct support programs from the federal government, like the Child Tax Credit and the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. So you'll see we're highlighting some of those on our new website, which you should certainly check out, magiccityrecovery.com. As we find out about new programs and new details from the federal government, we're making sure we update those there and keep our social media channels updated as well. So certainly be sure to bookmark that website. Next slide. We've also invited city employees and community partners to share their Magic City Recovery project ideas with us. The deadline to submit is tonight, and we've received a whole range of submissions to address priorities like public health and safety and neighborhood revitalization. And in fact, those numbers of project ideas submitted are climbing as our deadline approaches. I think we're closer to 75 as of right now. We'll use the city's $141 million in local fiscal recovery funds from the U.S. Department of Treasury to fund those submitted projects. So far, we've received the first $70 million from Treasury, and we'll receive the next $70 million about a year from now. So in the coming weeks and months, we'll be vetting submitted projects for alignment with Treasury guidelines. They're the ones who tell us how we can spend the money. And we'll also be considering how these projects can potentially impact our community. So be on the lookout for updates from us on selected projects. Many of the challenges we've experienced during the pandemic existed long before COVID-19, including food access. Nearly 70% of Birmingham residents lack access to affordable fresh foods close to home. And the pandemic showed us that we can't rely on existing grocery store models and emergency food supply chains to meet the need in our community. We need to shift the balance of food power back to the community and catalyze homegrown solutions for food access. So we're honored to be selected as one of 50 champion cities in the Bloomberg Global Mayor's Challenge to advance our work on this topic. Between now and October, we'll refine our idea of establishing a Birmingham Food Corps comprised of Birmingham City Schools graduates who will themselves become local food system experts and entrepreneurs. We'll then resubmit our proposal to Bloomberg for a chance at $1 million to implement our idea. The Mayor's Challenge is an incredible opportunity to learn from our peer champion cities and from a network of leading innovation experts who will advise us in this phase of the competition. We've also engaged many food system advocates and organizations locally in this work so far, and we look forward to expanding that circle in the coming months. So be on the lookout for opportunities to engage in our research and design process. That practice of civic innovation infuses so many of our public-private partnerships. You can advance to the next slide. We're working with MasterCard's In Solidarity initiative to advance Black wealth building, matching small business owners with tools to get their businesses online, among other programs soon to launch, many in partnership with our Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. With Mobility Capital Finance, or MoCaFi, on the previous slide, we're standing up a new debit card infrastructure for delivering emergency rental assistance and exploring ways to help our unbanked residents access financial tools. Innovation isn't just about new technology, though. It's also about leveraging expertise and outside perspective to advance our goals. Casey Family Programs is the nation's largest operating foundation focused on safely reducing the need for foster care in the United States. We're working with them to bolster the city's commitment to early education for children ages 0 through 5, expand early education investments, provide cohort-centered leadership development, and strengthen child development delivery systems. Fuse is a national nonprofit that places executive fellows in local government to lend their private sector expertise to public sector challenges. We currently have fellows in place supporting the Birmingham Civil Rights Institute under its new leadership and working to implement the Shape BHAM plan. And we'll soon be onboarding a fellow focused on housing innovation. So as you can see from and hear from my comments and from Chief Field, we have an ambitious agenda, and we're grateful for partnerships that help us deliver impact for our residents. So I will turn it back over to Arthur to introduce the man of the hour.
Thank you so much, Ed and Amelia, for that update. From here on out, I do want to notify our listening audience that you are more than welcome to submit questions to any of our speakers in the chat box function. We will do our absolute best to address your question following each speaker, and it will take about 5 minutes to have the Q&A dialogue. So great segue. Our next speaker is no strangers to us all. Allow me to introduce you to a son of our city, a graduate of Morehouse College and the Sanford University Cumberland School of Law, and who for the last 4 years has stood on the principles of servant leadership and his vow to put people first, the Honorable Mayor Randall Woodfin. But before Mayor Woodfin gives his updates on neighborhood revitalization, budget, and Magic City recovery, we will watch a quick video, and after that video plays, the next voice you hear will be Mayor Woodfin.
I usually start with a short story of a mother who's a homeowner who has a child or a grandchild. She walks out into her front porch and she looks to the lot to the right of her, and there is a dilapidated house that's been there for years. And then she looks to the lot to the left of her, and there's an overgrown lot. And then she looks in front of her, and the sidewalk is buckling. The street hasn't been paved in quite some time. The neighborhood park that she wants to take her child or grandchild down to play in doesn't have the necessary adequate playground equipment, and it's getting dark. It's time to come back home, but the street light doesn't work. And her child or grandchild is hungry and it's time to eat, but she remembers she doesn't live in proximity to healthy food. And that is the state of what we inherited. But the story doesn't end there. And so we put millions into a blight removal program to make sure the next time she looked to the right, we remove that dilapidated house that was sitting here. We put more money into a weed abatement program as well as our land bank program to make sure we not only cut this overgrown lot to the left of her, but we find and fund enough adequate resources to go vertical with a single family home on this empty lot to the left of her. We've come up with a 5-year sidewalk plan to make sure that sidewalk is walkable, in addition millions of dollars into paving streets. We've started to invest in our 116 parks, realizing that playground equipment was adequate for that mother's child or grandchild to actually play in. We put resources in place to continue to want to get a grocery store to our city, where there are food deserts on the east and west and north side of town. And addressing those neighborhood revitalization issues, I'm reminded that what we inherited, you can't solve overnight, but we will stay committed to the number one issue in the city, which is making sure where our residents live within our 99 neighborhoods. If we continue to embrace the notion that the city of Birmingham is only as strong as its lowest quality of life neighborhood, then we have to continue to address every single issue I just described to you.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and good morning, everybody. You know, this year, the city of Birmingham is celebrating 150 years of existence. I believe it's the perfect time to both celebrate and build upon our community's legacy, a legacy that has redefined the true meaning of freedom for our entire world. As mayor, I'm in the position of being the number one cheerleader for our city, and I often like to remind people of that. But I'm also the number one cheerleader for all 99 neighborhoods. A big part of that duty is providing opportunity and home when our residents most need it. And so this fiscal year represents restoration. It represents growth following a very difficult year, I would define for all of us, or say for all of us. Civil unrest following the murder of George Floyd, a pandemic unlike anything we've ever faced before, and an economic crisis that followed. And sadly, the most devastating part, many of us don't have family or friends who are still with us today. We're all just one degree of separation from these hardships. So Birmingham had to make tough decisions. We had to make some unpopular decisions in real time for the health and well-being of our city and our citizens. Decisions that would save lives and invest in our small businesses, as well as our hourly workers. Before federal assistance came to our city, we leaned on our local public-private partners. We created a local public-private partnership. It was called BHAM Strong. BHAM Strong developed resources and helped hourly workers who may have been laid off. Through those tough times, we continued our commitment as well as investing in the talent that already lives here. And that's the spirit of the Birmingham Promise, which provides apprenticeships and tuition to Birmingham City School students so that they can attend in-state college free of charge. Now, yesterday, a $455 million operating budget, the largest in our city's history, was passed. And the work of this budget will continue the work of helping us rebound. In it, it includes a 1.5% cost of living adjustment for our city employees. Also, $3.15 million for demolition, as well as weed abatement. There's $10 million for street resurfacing so you can stop dodging those potholes. And there's additional funding in there for a continued recycling program. And so much more, totaling $14 million in neighborhood revitalization efforts, based on that video you just watched a minute ago. And so let me tell you what I believe. I'm so confident in our city's future because our goals are very, very clear. Neighborhood revitalization of both place and people, stimulating the restoration and growth of our city, as well as strengthening public-private partnerships. And I can't forget, welcoming the world to our doorstep next year for the history-making World Games events. What is this all about? It's about continuing our legacy of being a blueprint for change and being a place of opportunity. We are 150 years strong, built to last. And my favorite part, if I can be very candid with you all, we're just getting started. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that update, Mayor Woodfin. I will say, as someone who's been in Birmingham since 2016, I can say I'm excited about the progress that continues to happen in the city as well. So I do have a couple of questions for you. The first question being, what's your plan for using the American Rescue Plan funds for Birmingham?
Thanks for that question. I think the first place for me to start in answering it is the purpose of what the American Rescue Plan funding, its purpose and what it's used for. One is addressing those coronavirus issues that plagued our community and city. I think two, there were many, many gaps in our city's resources. And so finding ways to get these resources directly to our community so we can have immediate impact. And so, of course, many of you all know we started, opened, and created a process, a stimulus command center to have an intake process of those to actually apply for those American Rescue Plan. That actual deadline ends at 5 p.m. today to receive ideas, thoughts, and plans around how community members, those in the public sector, would like to see some of that money used. I think once that closes, there will be a process to where we communicate to the public how and what we plan to use that money on. The biggest thing I look forward to is the continuation of working with the city council to make sure we're all in lockstep on the same page as elected officials, delivering on that American Rescue Plan funding to improve the quality of life of our citizens.
Okay. You also mentioned Birmingham Promise. So just a quick question about that. Where is the funding from Birmingham Promise coming from? I'm hearing a lot of conflicting stories about, it being taken from school budgets. Can you clear that up for me a little bit?
Yeah, so I mean, it's pretty easy. The Birmingham Promise is a public-private partnership. So portion of its funding comes from the city of Birmingham. Portion of that funding comes from the private sector. Prior to the Birmingham Promise being created, the city of Birmingham gave $3 million, which was a blank check to the Birmingham City School System. They were allowed to just say, it was just a blank check to them. And so what we did was take two of that $3 million, and over a 5-year period, right at $10 million total, use that for apprenticeships for those same students that attend Birmingham City schools, juniors and seniors that can make $15 an hour livable wage while leaving high school early to receive high school credit hours, but being exposed to the workplace for a job that they may want in the future. The private sector money pays for the tuition side of their opportunity to attend any in-state 2-year, 4-year public college or university. Free tuition, all 2 years or all 4 years. No GPA requirement, no SAT requirement, no ACT requirement. The only requirement is that they live in the city limits of Birmingham, finish high school, and complete their FAFSA. Outside of that, no questions. So the Birmingham Promise, what I really want to encourage any rising senior in high school, they have the opportunity to go to school tuition free. And for any parent that's listening who has a rising senior or any child between kindergarten and 11th grade, this will also be an opportunity for your child as well.
Okay. So I have a background in engineering, and so math is my thing. And I also just completed my MBA at Sanford. So I'm a little bit curious about this next question. If we had a deficit in last year's budget, why do we have a surplus in money this year?
Yeah. Well, first, congratulations, brother, on completing your MBA. But to answer your question is very direct. The city of Birmingham as it relates to our budget and how we create our budget is based on projections. So let me repeat that. City of Birmingham budget is based on projections. Those projections are usually a combination of what's come in and the trend line of where certain taxes are going, such as business license and sales taxes and occupational taxes and lodging taxes, as well as permanent fees based off construction in our city. If I can use the example of the construction, the permitting fees, for example, many of you all have been seeing cranes every day, even in the middle of the coronavirus. And so our fee structures and our taxes are increasing, which increases our revenue. Related to last year during the coronavirus, it's simple. The same projections, the opposite happened. Businesses closed, so we lost business license, taxes. Employees were furloughed or laid off, so we lost occupational taxes. The actual tangible, not projection, but tangible number we lost right when everything shut down in March. So March and April and May, we know we lost a hard count of $17 million compared to the same time of the year before in 2019. If that trend line from a projection standpoint continued every quarter, that's how you got to a $63 million budget shortfall.
Okay.
You're better at the math, so I hope that worked.
Yeah, I love it. I have one more question for you, Mayor, and it's about crime. So, obviously within the last year, crime has really been out of control. And I'm not sure if it's because people have been cramped up in their homes from, due to the pandemic. But in regards to that, what are we doing to kind of control things?
So I want to put crime in context of two contexts. The first context is there's pain out here in our community. I'm saddened every time someone is shot, and I'm even more saddened when someone is actually killed from the gun violence that exists in our community, because I imagine that mother having the same grief and pain that my own mother experienced when my brother was killed. And so I want to acknowledge the victims of gun violence in the city, those who survived as well as those who did not survive, and a special acknowledgement to their family members who are grieving, the mothers, the husbands, the wives, the children, the siblings, like I was. And so it's tough right now. Let me also state that gun violence in the city of Birmingham, as well as gun violence in America right now, is a crisis. So much to the tune that in 2019, I declared gun violence in the city of Birmingham a public health crisis, an entire year and a half before a global health pandemic. And so where I am, I believe we have to give this the same attention we gave a global health pandemic. It is on our front doorstep. It is a crisis, and we have to have a sense of urgency around how to address it. And you address it through three things: prevention measures, enforcement measures, as well as reentry measures for those who are transitioning and coming out of prison and or jail. And so on the enforcement lane, which is in the middle, we've in the first half of the year, today is June 30th, and we've taken in 6 months, or right at June 30th, I should say, first half of the year, we've taken over 1,400 guns off our streets. But unfortunately, in the state of Alabama and so many other jurisdictions across the nation, the trafficking in guns is just so easy for people to get. The other unfortunate part is that the style of conflict resolution, people who have beef between each other, people who personally know each other, this is their style of how to solve their problem, which we have to work on more conflict resolution, which brings me to the prevention measures. Offering more job opportunities for our young people, as well as offering more conflict resolution engagement and programs for our young people, as well as violence interrupters, those in the community who can go out to the streets and engage those who who commit these violent acts or know people who commit these violent acts. And the last part is reentry. I think it's really important to engage those who come out of prison and for whatever reason that got them locked up, make sure they don't fall into the same habit again. So assisting those in getting their license or some form of ID, assisting them in getting some form of gainful employment, as well as other tools and opportunities to make sure they don't end up doing the same thing that got them in trouble the first time. I believe with all of those resources, we may can't predict and or prevent every gun perpetrator, but what we can do is continue to throw every resource and every tool we can at addressing this crisis that not only exists in Birmingham, but exists across our nation.
Thank you so much. I know I said that the last question was the last question, but we just got a couple of questions in, and this one is from Fred Sibley. And he says, last summer, the mantra defund the police was pushed as the way to see change in policing. In the grand scheme, people just want to see reforms. What type of reform the police options do you see being instrumental for the city of Birmingham?
The first thing I would say is holding officers accountable for whatever acts they commit against our citizens that are out of code or out of policy. And so we have a chief that I define as a Boy Scout. He doesn't play as it relates to accountability related to how police engage the citizens. If they do something in violation of BPD's policy, they're held accountable. That accountability is attached to transparency. So making sure the public knows when an officer has misconduct, there's public information that you can go and see those officers that they've committed and that what their punishment is for violation of those said policies. I think the other thing to do is a bridge, right? The bridge is trust and building trust, and how do we have more trust between police and the community? I think one of the biggest ways to do that is creating the civilian review board. And so we've done that. We've also created a task force, a citizens task force, to peel back all of our policies and procedures and to make sure that they work in 2021 as it relates to how we interact with our citizens. An example would be currently looking at how we engage in our warrants, whether it's knocking or no knocking. And so we don't have any Breonna Taylor situations ever again, not just in Birmingham or in the state of Kentucky, but in America. And so I think it's important that the city of Birmingham, based on our history here, right? Based on the fact that Eugene Connor, Bull Connor office was in the same building that I am in 2021 as public safety commissioner, which meant he gave the order to sick police dogs on Black citizens protesting. He gave the order to make firefighters use water hoses on Black peaceful protesters, that those things never happen again. and being in a position as mayor, the city of Birmingham should be on the forefront of police reform efforts for the entire country to see.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mayor. Well, I really appreciate that. Thank you for your time and thank you for that Q&A dialogue. We'll move forward. And now we will have our next speaker, Dr. Lonnie Hannon from the Birmingham Land Bank Authority. Dr. Lonnie Hannon is an experienced researcher and educator. His interests include the cultural, political, and economic factors that shape society. His specific area of study examines the effects of legacy-based housing policy on neighborhood development and community empowerment. He has received over $1 million in grant funding to stimulate community engagement. His recent peer-reviewed articles discuss innovative dissemination strategies and community empowerment. Dr. Hannon is a chairman of the Birmingham Land Bank Authority Board, and he sits on the Southside Baseball Association Board of Directors. He lives here in Birmingham with his wife, Kimberly, and 2 sons. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Lonnie Hannon.
All right, thank you, Arthur. That was a very generous introduction. Hey, I grew up in Eastlake in the Hillcrest section of the East Side near the old Cascade Plunge. As a youth, my mother, father, and grandmother would inculcate to me and my sister the teachings of A.G. Gaston. A part of all you earn should be yours to keep. I grew up listening to Wind Radio and going to city stages. As I grew into a young adult, I witnessed the nadir of Birmingham's transition from manufacturing to healthcare. The city experienced a decline in population, employment opportunities, and self-esteem. For many years, the city stagnated as we underwent a major out-migration of talent. I remember being encouraged to get out of Birmingham as soon as you can. But over the last 4 years, I have witnessed a reimagining of Birmingham. Under Mayor Woodfin, Birmingham has adopted a can-do attitude. The city has embraced smart growth and 21st century innovation. I have witnessed previously abandoned areas of town become reborn with commerce and civic activity. Importantly, we are developing into a net importer of talent and innovation while retaining our own youth who desire to make a difference. Neighborhood revitalization and community engagement is a calling that I have. It is a professional mission as well as a personal ministry. As chairman of the Birmingham Land Bank Authority Board, I am committed to empowering residents via neighborhood revitalization. By helping visionary, resourceful, and hardworking people acquire property, we can continue to rebuild our neighborhoods. I am happy today to introduce Attorney Caroline Douglas, who serves as the interim director of the Birmingham Land Bank Authority. She is competently and boldly leading the Birmingham Land Bank Authority into a new era where financial transparency, resident empowerment, and neighborhood revitalization are the norm. It is my pleasure to be able to work with her. I will now turn the floor over to Attorney Caroline Douglas.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hannon, for introducing me. I know I feel like I've learned a little more about you in those few minutes. You know, when I moved to Birmingham, I came with one thing in mind, and that was law school. It was my dream to become a lawyer, and I was a student at the Cumberland School of Law. I didn't know how long I was going to be in Birmingham, but after I met an attorney, when I was a student worker in the law library, I started looking at Birmingham differently. Not as a place where I would just come to school, graduate, and leave, but a place where maybe, just maybe, I could call home. This attorney I met took me under her wing, and before I knew it, I had a summer internship at the City of Birmingham's Law Department, and the rest, as they say, is history. And almost 9 years later, I have the opportunity to lead the Birmingham Land Bank Authority, a public corporation with a unique ability to transform neighborhoods just like yours. I still remember the neighborhood where I grew up, palm trees so tall that if you stared long enough, you'd be blinded by the sun. Warm, sunny days, cool breeze, kids playing in the street. I know, they said we shouldn't be in the street, but we were in the street. We taught each other some things about life in our neighborhood. We taught each other how to jump rope and improvise. If you didn't have a jump rope, you used telephone cords. Now, some of you know what I'm talking about. We taught each other not to walk to the corner store by yourself. We also taught each other how to ride on the handlebars if you were brave. But one thing we didn't know is that our street was overcrowded, densely packed with apartment homes and single family homes on both sides of the street. Well, my mother, sister, and I, we lived in an apartment. We shared one bedroom and one bed. When my mom saved up, we moved a few doors down and we got a 2-bedroom. My sister and I shared a room. But let my sister tell it. She'll say they got tired of getting smacked in the mouth and kicked in the face when I was asleep. My mom, she was a single parent. She worked 6 and 7 days a week. She was tired and we didn't know it. Financially stretched sometimes and we just didn't know it. But she always had a plan to make life better. So when I was a junior in high school, imagine my excitement when my mom told me she bought a house. I was so excited because finally I'd get my own room. But more importantly, our family would finally have a house to call a home. There are many families in Birmingham that want and deserve a home, a safe place to lay their head. So today, I want to talk to you about the Birmingham Land Bank Authority, what it is, how it works, about our programs, and most importantly, how you can get involved. So what exactly is a land bank? Well, a land bank is created by state law to acquire tax delinquent properties and return them to effective use. The Birmingham Land Bank Authority was created by the City of Birmingham to return tax delinquent properties back to effective use, but also to acquire surplus properties of the local government and also other properties within the city limits, all for the reason of removing blight, providing housing, and stabilizing our neighborhoods. The Birmingham Land Bank Authority is governed by a 7-member board, of which Dr. Hannon is our chairman. So how does the property become tax delinquent? I mentioned that the Birmingham Land Bank Authority was created to return tax delinquent properties back to effective use. I'll say it this way. A property that is tax delinquent is not effective. It does not contribute to neighborhood schools, and it may become a burden on the city and also the neighborhood. Well, a property becomes tax delinquent when the tax collector sends a bill and that bill is not paid. When the tax collector sets that bill and it's not paid, it can be sold by the county for taxes. If no one buys that property at the county tax sale, it will go to the state. And when you buy it from the state, you will pay not only what the delinquent taxes were at the time it went to the state, but you will also pay taxes that accrued every year after that, plus interest and fees. So here in the state of Alabama, your property taxes are due on October 1st. They become delinquent on January 1st. And if they're not paid before the tax sale, they can and will be sold. There are thousands of properties in the city of Birmingham that are tax delinquent. Some of them are eligible for our programs. One program we have can take a property that has back property taxes, liens, maybe even mortgages, take it through a quiet title process in court, and that property can come out on the other side, clear title, no liens, no mortgages. But let's take a look at this illustration as an example. In my fictitious city of Green Acres, just walk with me on this one. There's a house that's 10 years delinquent in property taxes. There's a lien for the roof work, and there's an old mortgage that still needs to be paid. So before a quiet title is filed in court, this property has $108,000 worth of back taxes, liens, and mortgages. This is what we call encumbrances. Now, if the land bank files a petition of quiet title in court, all that means is the land bank wants the court to declare it the rightful owner if no one redeems the property. Now, what does it mean to redeem? It simply means that either a lien holder or a prior owner will come and pay the back taxes. If that is not done, then the court will issue an order and vest ownership and full title of the property into the land bank. When that happens, $0 will be owed for those delinquent property taxes. $0 will be owned for that lien. $0 will be owned for that mortgage. This is very important to understand because clear title is important. Think about clear title as your transcripts. If I wanted to know how well you did in school, I could ask you and take your word for it, or I can ask you for your transcripts. Your transcripts are going to tell me what grades you earned, the classes you took, your semester hours, your overall GPA. Think of your property title like a transcript. It's going to tell you every transaction that that property has been involved in. Has there been any liens on the property? Have you borrowed money against the property? Things like that. So when you are buying property, you want to buy property knowing that no one can redeem it from you. And that is the benefit of going through this program that we have called the Quiet Title Program. So now, let's see what properties are eligible for our program. A property to be eligible has to be at least 5 years tax delinquent. But because of the amendment to the Alabama Land Bank Authority Act, starting on August 1st, properties that are at least 3 years tax delinquent will be eligible. So now, who can participate in our programs? If you are an individual, for-profit, nonprofit, governmental entity, you are eligible to participate in our programs so long as you don't currently own a property that's delinquent in taxes, you haven't lost a property because of delinquent property taxes, you haven't defaulted on an agreement that you've had previously with the land bank, and you have no current or state violations on your property. When you apply for any of our programs, we're going to ask you these questions. I encourage you to tell us the truth, because if you own any property within the city limits, we do reserve the right to make sure that there are no code violations on your property. So let's take a look at the programs that we offer. We have 4 programs through the Birmingham Land Bank Authority. We've got a lot lease program, which is for vacant lots, and that's a 2-year lease program. We've got a quiet title and immediate acquisition program. Both are ownership programs. Lastly, we have a strategic acquisition program. This is the land bank's opportunity to collaborate with the city of Birmingham on catalytic developments. So let's start with the lot lease program. This lot lease program is ideal for the homeowner that lives next to a vacant lot or in the same neighborhood as the vacant lot. If you are an organization like a nonprofit, even a church, you're also eligible so long as you are open and operating. You have the right during this 24-month term to use the property within the city's zoning laws and ordinances. And also you've got the responsibility to maintain that property for the 2-year period. You have an option at the end to bridge into an ownership program that we'll talk about next, or you can take a quitclaim deed. If you take a quitclaim deed, it will not clear that property's title, and we just talked about that. So all of those encumbrances, if they're liens, they'll still be there. That mortgage will still be there. So the benefit to you is to bridge into the ownership program so you can own it outright. This allows you as an individual or a nonprofit or a church to help stabilize the neighborhood where you're located. And it gives you time to save up for the next program. But let's take a look and walk through the process of how you can get involved with this program. Once you identify a property, either you live next door to it or it's in your neighborhood, you would submit an application online at birminghamlandbank.org. The staff will review your application, then they'll submit it to the board for approval. Once it's approved, we will request the tax deed from the state of Alabama. We'll receive that tax deed, process it, then you'll come in, sign your contract, pay your fee, and your agreement term begins. Let's look at our ownership program called the Quiet Title Program. Now, this is good for those who want full ownership of the property. You've got plans to improve the property. It can be a permanent improvement, you're building a house, or you can do a non-permanent improvement like a garden, or if you just want to fence it in and extend your boundary line. Well, for this program, the property must be vacant and unoccupied. So it can be a vacant lot or there could be a structure on it. You've got a timeline with this program. You've got to develop it within 365 days from the date of your closing. What I mean by closing is that's the time when you pay your purchase funds and the land bank will issue you a deed for the property. This takes about 4 to 6 months. It can take a little longer than that, depending on when we receive the tax deed and also what happens when that quiet title suit is filed in court. The starting cost for this program is $5,000 plus closing costs, and you can buy a property to live in it. You can buy the property to rent it. You can buy it to resell it, or you can renovate it for a family member. If you're a business, you can run your business out of it. Or if you're a nonprofit, you can run your nonprofit out of it as long as it complies with the city's zoning laws. Let's take a look at what this process looks like. Similar to the last one, you'll still need an application, which will be reviewed and submitted to the board for approval. We'll still request the tax deed from the state, process it and receive it, and then you'll execute your contract. But here, since this is a purchase, we're going to let you inspect this property. Then you will deposit your earnest money, and the attorney will receive that assignment from us, examine the property's title. So remember, we're going to look at that transcript and see who are the parties that need to be notified about what we're doing in court. Once that quiet title action is filed, a final hearing will occur, and this is an opportunity for a lien holder, a mortgage holder, or a prior owner or their heirs to come to court and declare to the court if they want to redeem it. If the party wants to redeem it, the land bank will not contest that. They will allow that to happen. And if they do not, the court will vest the land bank with ownership. Then we will contact you to schedule a closing. That's when you pay the rest of your funds and you receive a deed, and then your agreement term begins. Let's take a look at the next one, the immediate acquisition program. All right, so these are ready for immediate sale. These have already gone through the court process, so there's no additional time built in for this process. What I didn't mention in the last program, I will mention here. For both the quiet title and the immediate acquisition, you need to submit a development plan because we're going to hold you to it. Your plan tells us, what do you plan on doing with the property? Do you plan on renovating the existing structure? Do you want to plant a garden? We want to know, because during your compliance period, which we'll talk about next, we will make sure that you are doing what you said you're going to do. Because remember, we want to stabilize neighborhoods and we want to remove blight and provide housing. And we want you to partner with us in that. The minimum price for these properties will be $5,000 plus closing costs. If there's a structure, please give consideration to things like plumbing, mechanical, electrical, and other things that need to be addressed. Because you're submitting your plan ahead of time, after you inspect, there's another opportunity for you to come back to the table and redo that plan. So by the time you close, we have a plan that works. Let's take a look at this process. This one's a bit shorter. Again, there's going to be an application. You're going to submit your plans and your proof of funding. Let me mention that as well. You can have a good plan, but we also need you to show us your proof of funding for this program and also the quiet title program, both ownership. We will submit the application to the board for approval. Then you'll come in, you'll sign your contract, and you'll inspect it. And at that time, after the inspection, if you're satisfied, you'll pay, close on the property, then your agreement term and compliance term will start. So let's talk a little bit about compliance. This is the period of time after you have, let's back up, we'll do this. You've identified a property, you've gone on our website, filled out an application, you've picked a program you want to participate in. If you have purchased the property or if you're going to lease it for the 24 months, we will follow up with you within 15 days to make sure you've either cut that grass or you have secured a structure if there's a house there and you've removed all debris. We're going to check up with you again in 45 days if you're doing improvements that aren't permanent. Remember, fences, gardens, things like that. If you are building on that property and you're putting a permanent structure there, we're going to make sure you start that within 90 days. So we're going to check up with you then as well. And then every 90 days after that, you're going to see us or you're going to hear from us. This is a partnership. So we want to make sure that you and the land bank stay in contact during your progress. So you know how to reach us. We've got a website at www.birminghamlandbank.org. Our phone number is 254-2117. And our email, go ahead and email us if you like, at landbank@birminghamal.gov. To date, we have cleared title to over 538 properties. We've entered into agreements for lot leases, over 400 of them. But I know, like you know, there is room for more. So I'm calling on you, developers, contractors, builders who are in Birmingham. Invest in Birmingham and build within our city limits. We have access to land. We just need you to come build. I'm asking you, residents, will you participate with me? Will you revitalize your neighborhood with me? If you will, participate where you can. If you can lease a vacant lot and keep it cut, do it. If you can buy a vacant lot and build on that, do it. If you can buy an existing home that's on one of our lots and renovate it for your family or maybe another family to come, do it. We at the Birmingham Land Bank Authority encourage you to do it. Listen, it's about legacy. Let's leave something not only for your children or your children's children, but let's leave something for the next generation so that they experience what we experience now. And before I close, just let me tell you something about that house my mom bought. So she sold that house a few years ago and it appreciated. So she put money she invested in her neighborhood and it appreciated. That means that the property was worth more when she sold it than it was when she bought it. She took that profit and she purchased land. And right now, as I speak to you, she is building her retirement home from the ground up. So why not you? Come on, Birmingham. We can do this together. I want you to think legacy. I want you to think ownership. And I want you to know that together, we can build a better Birmingham, one neighborhood at a time. Thanks, Arthur.
Thank you, Dr. Hannon and Attorney Douglas. I want to ask one quick question in respect to time. I have a friend who's been cutting grass the lot next door to their home. So how can they find out if they're eligible for the program?
So what I would want your friend to do is go to our website at birminghamlandbank.org. On the left-hand side, there are quick links, and the link is, it's going to say, find a property. When they click that link, there's a map is going to pop up. There's also going to be a search field at the top. Since your friend lives next door, they should know the address. Pop in that address. If that address appears on the right, it's eligible for our program. But let's say it doesn't pop up. Then I want your friend to call our office at 254-2117, and we will assist to verify whether that parcel is eligible. And then all your friend has to decide now is, do they want to lease it for 2 months and then bridge into the ownership program, or are they ready to buy it? And they can do the lot lease application or the quiet title application.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Well, moving forward with our agenda, next up, we will have Nick Sellers. Nick Sellers is CEO of the World Games 2022. He's on loan from Alabama Power in this role where he's worked for almost 20 years in various leadership roles. Before that, he worked as an advisor for policy and economic development to the governor of Alabama. He's former chairman of the Alabama Sports Council, which oversees the nationally renowned events like the Magic City Classic, SEC baseball tournament, and many more. He's married with 3 children and resides here in Birmingham. But before Nick comes on, we will show a brief video, and immediately after, Nick will come with his presentation.
In July of 2022, the eyes of the world will be focused yet again on the state of Alabama. For only the second time in history, the World Games will be played on American soil. 3,600 world-class athletes will come from every corner of the world, from more than 100 countries in all, to participate in some of the most unique sporting events the world has to offer, some of which will go on to become Olympic sports. More than 1,500 credentialed media will be here to tell the story, Alabama's story, the story of triumph, goodwill, determination, and evolution, and how Alabama has rightly taken its place as a premier international sporting destination. The World Games 2022 will be watched by millions around the world. They'll see the emergence of Alabama on the world stage. Let the world come and witness history. Alabama is ready.
Silent for too long. Athletes missed too many competitions. Now the drumbeat has begun, signaling a world-class international sporting event is on the horizon. In July of 2022, the World Games are coming to Birmingham, Alabama. This historic event will symbolize the reunification of the international sporting community, fans and athletes together. Tickets are now available and selling quickly. Buy today at twg2022.com.
The World Games are coming in July of 2022. Recognized by the International Olympic Committee, the World Games will be one of the nation's biggest international sporting events since the '96 Atlanta Olympics. World-class athletes from more than 100 countries will compete for gold. Muay Thai, sumo, softball, lacrosse, beach handball, pool, sport climbing, powerlifting, and more. This is the new generation of sports. Tickets are on sale. Buy today at twg2022.com. Following this summer's Tokyo Olympic Games, the eyes of the world will turn to Birmingham, Alabama, and the World Games 2022. Next July, the world will come together for the South's largest international sporting event since the '96 Centennial Olympic Games. 3,600 athletes will compete for gold in 34 sports, including lacrosse, softball, gymnastics, flag football, and more. Tickets are on sale now. Buy yours at WG2022.com.
Arthur, thank you so much. I can't thank the Mayor of Birmingham, or Woodfin and the city enough giving me this opportunity to give you a little behind the scenes update. As you saw it, and what you just saw there, y'all families don't have family time together more. Many of those spots have been running a week today, as Chief Field said, as we have our global ticket launch. For the largest international sporting event in the Southeast since the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, and the first major sporting event on American soil coming out of the pandemic full fan experience again. Can everybody hear me okay?
No, sir, it's coming in very garbled.
How about now? That's better.
No, sir. Try muting yourself and unmuting yourself real fast.
What about that?
No, it's very crackly.
Everyone, please bear with us as we try to get Nick Sellers' audio correct. But I'm sure we'll have everything ready within a matter of seconds. I do want to give another brief reminder that you are able to submit any questions that you have in the Q&A section of the function within Zoom. So please keep that in mind as we continue to go with this meeting. Thank you very much.
How's that, Arthur? Is that better?
A lot better.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Okay. Apologies, everybody. Glad to be back. Look, as I mentioned, this is the first major international sporting event on American soil coming out of the pandemic with full fan experience again, and the biggest in the Southeast since the 1996 Olympics. We are fully recognized by the International Olympic Committee, and folks ask me all the time, I'm excited about the World Games coming to Birmingham. Now, what exactly is the World Games? You saw some of that in the video, but in short, we define the World Games as the new generation of international sports. And I think it's fitting to have that mantra under the leadership and the mantra of this mayor. I've known Randall Woodfin for a long time, like many of you, long before he was the leader of our great city. And this is a guy who recognizes that a rising tide can only lift all boats if all boats have the same opportunity to float. And he has held us accountable to ensure that we are operating these World Games in the same way. We've been a great partner. He's been a great partner to us and the city leadership. But I'm really pleased today to bring alongside of me someone who holds us accountable for that every day in our family and on this team. She's the heartbeat of the World Games 2022 staff, sort of the matriarch of our office here. And I'm really pleased to bring in my teammate and sister, Miss Kathy Boswell today, who is our VP of Community Engagement. So we're going to tag team this and kind of walk through it and then open it up for conversation. We go to the next slide, please. As I mentioned, in keeping with the commitment we've made to Mayor Woodfin, to his administration, to the city, and to the business community, we're committed to inclusivity. Under Kathy's leadership, leading the WOO, the World of Opportunity, which is co-chaired by executives from Regions Bank and Alabama Power Company. And that is Glenda Thomas and Marcus Lundy.
Yes.
Thank you. Everything that we do here in our spend, our available spend, which will be some $10 to $15 million, everything is run through the WOO, the World of Opportunity, to ensure that local women and minority-owned businesses have an opportunity to compete. And not just an opportunity, but Kathy holds us accountable, just like the rest of our leadership team, to ensure that we're doing that the right way. We believe this is going to be a legacy gift to the community, and we're excited about it. Over 500,000 in attendance, generally between a 4 to 6 hour drive time. We expect thousands of international guests to come from Hartsfield Airport right into our Shuttlesworth International Airport to witness history over 10 days of global competition, over $250 million of economic impact for our community. And as I mentioned, it's the largest international sporting event in the Southeast since the 1996 Olympics. You're going to see these signs everywhere. We've got great partnership with not only the city and the Jefferson County, but the state of Alabama. Every entrance and exit into Alabama, you'll see the signs that say Home of the World Games 2022. The look and decor, thanks to our partnership with the city, is really coming to life. All of our venues around the area have got World Games branding, and from the airport to the hotels downtown and from our central downtown area, all across the venues, hopefully thanks in partnership to our good friend Alexander Shinar, who may give us a little bit of those billboards, we hope, you will see World Games signage everywhere, from the hotels to the venues and from the venues back downtown. Next slide, please. 10 days of competition, an athlete's night at this beautiful new City Walk Beeham. If y'all haven't had a chance to take a look, Google City Walk Beeham and look and see what that's going to do. It is going to light up, not just literally, but figuratively. It's going to light up our downtown central business district and connect the entertainment district to downtown. And that City Walk Birmingham will play host to the Regions World Games Plaza, the heartbeat of the World Games. It will connect all of our various venues across the greater Birmingham area. An athlete's night and opening and closing ceremonies at this new beautiful protective stadium. And guys, it's gonna absolutely knock your socks off. Next slide. So 34 different sport competitions, 3,600 athletes across 10 days of competition. Look, 6 of these sports and sport disciplines will be competing in Tokyo in just a matter of weeks. The only challenge is they'll be competing to virtually empty venues. But in a year from now, when those competitions come back, including softball, gymnastics, sport climbing, archery, and karate, among others, when they get back to Birmingham, Alabama, it's going to be an unbelievable reconnection of our community to our state, and our state to the world. Because here's the deal, y'all. To the extent people think about Birmingham, Alabama outside of the Southeast, I'd submit to you that they probably just think about us in black and white. And I'm not just talking about race. I'm talking about black and white TV. But this is a chance for them to see this new, beautiful Birmingham that's finally getting comfortable in our skin, getting comfortable in who we are and where we want to be. We're not chasing Atlanta. We're not chasing other cities anymore. We're happy with who we are. And we are recognizing how great this city is. And we want the world to love us like that. And that's what these World Games are all about. 10 different venue clusters around the community, 24 venues in all in these 10 venue clusters. We go as far south as the Hoover Met for water ski jumping and wakeboarding, as far east as the Barber International Motorsports Park for sports competitions like drone racing and canopy piloting, as far west as the beautiful Crossplex, where you will see unbelievable roller sports. Wheelchair rugby will be on the competition. The first major international sporting event to have competitions with adapted sports for athletes with and without disabilities on the program together. We're real excited about that. And then ultimately downtown, UAB and others. We'll have a concert series on the green with some great acts and a VIP gala welcoming the president of the Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, and dignitaries from around the world, with our civic and community leaders and political leaders and business leaders showcasing the world. If you don't know this guy, I encourage you to Google him right now, or at least at the end of this presentation. He's a world-renowned composer, Dr. Henry Panion. He's composed everybody from Carrie Underwood to Chaka Khan to the Blind Boys of Alabama to Stevie Wonder for over 25 years. Keep your fingers crossed on that one. And he's got all of these acts that will be performing. And we want you to keep this here. We haven't announced this publicly yet, performing in our opening and closing ceremonies. You see that top one on the left? Y'all, you're looking at it right. The master of P-Funk we will be announcing as the master of opening ceremonies, Mr. Bootsy Collins. And he will be working with another legend in music to compose a unique theme song for these games with Dr. Panion. And it's the next slide. It's this gentleman right here, Randy Owen, from the iconic country band, Alabama. They're joining forces with country and urban and R&B like Tony, hopefully with Raphael Sadiq, who's back in with the band, coming to perform, and many others, Pastor Mike, Yolanda Adams, that will be performing in this beautiful, beautiful display that Rashida Leroy and LRY Media, as our executive producer, are putting together for opening and closing ceremonies. He's one of our honorary co-chairs with this guy right here who needs no introduction, Charles Barkley. He's just such a great ambassador for our state. He'll be joined by these other three: Noah Galloway, a military veteran and a wonderful ambassador for adapted athletes; Vanetta Flowers, Jackson Olin High School grad, All-American UAB track and field, the first African-American in history to win a gold medal in the Winter Olympics. And she is an even better human being. We can't wait to have her back for opening ceremonies. And then finally, Kat Reddick, an Olympic gold medal winner from the U.S. women's soccer team, Briarwood Christian. Those 5 individuals who represent so many great things about our state will lead a delegation of 3,600 athletes into opening ceremonies on global TV. Huge moment for our city, for our state, and for our country. Our partnership with CBS will be announcing soon 2 one-hour produced specials on CBS, the mothership network, 120 million households in the United States, in Canada, and in Bermuda, and 10 hours of coverage on CBS Sports. Globally, it will be produced by International Sports Broadcast, a broadcasting arm of the Olympic Committee, and it will be broadcast on the Olympic Channel in over 100 countries. I'm going to turn over to my sister here now to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing in the community and how we need you, everybody, to lean into this moment.
Absolutely. Well, you know, one of the things about the World Games is we have been very intentional in how we want to engage the community. So we have some very targeted initiatives to target specific communities within communities. So for example, We will be launching in August an educational digital toolkit that will be released across the state for grades K through 12. And we're actually doing workshops with teachers and educators across the state. Blue Cross and Blue Shield is our sponsor of that, but it is just filled with so much knowledge into education around the games. As Nick mentioned about the World of Opportunity, which is our supplier diversity program, intentionality was placed, and I really have to give the mayor and his team credit for making sure that they were very, very specific to let us know you cannot leave out minority, women-owned, and small, diverse, and local businesses. You have to intentionally think of them. And to be honest with you, when it comes to a sporting event like this, it's very easy for people to go to who they've always used. But there has been a very deliberate strategy to make sure that we found a way to engage our diverse, small, local, minority, and women-owned businesses. And as Nick said, between 10 and 15 million will be spent with those individuals. And it's taking some unique thinking, but it's being done. We also have our world experience delivered by Shipped, which is our mobile market unit. And all I can say is if you haven't seen it, you will, because based on Nick's plan, that thing is going to be everywhere promoting and marketing the games. And then also too, we're very excited to have Lakeshore Foundation involved with the Disability Inclusion Initiative, and they are our disability sponsor along with Drummond. But the key is we want to make sure that everyone feels a part of the game. Nick mentioned earlier, wheelchair rugby, this is the first time in history that an adaptive sport will be a part of the World Games and an international sporting event, and it's taking place at the Crossplex. So we're having a historical moment in a historical community and making history in Birmingham, and that's something we all need to really, really be proud of. Next, we have some initiatives around sustainability. Stay tuned for more about a tree planting initiative of a legacy gift that we're going to be doing some tree planting around the city. We're looking at even how we're designing our signage so that we can reuse it and repurpose it after the game, as opposed to putting it in landfills. Food harvesting, really donating unused and untouched food to community kitchens during the game. A zero waste venue where we're going to implement as many processes, procedures, and products to create zero waste. And then also solar trees, which are solar energy stations that you'll see at both Protective and the Crossplex. But last and not least is our volunteer program. And that's where everybody, we want you to understand, we really, really need you. 2,500 people will be utilized and needed to really host the world coming to this city. And what I want to be able to say to you, this volunteer program is not about working. It is about serving. We are hosting the world. And what we want them to see is a better Birmingham, to see the best parts of us. And we have a lot to offer. We're not a perfect city, never will be. But what we do have is leadership that's very committed to bring us together to be one, no matter where we are, who we are. And that's what our volunteer program is going to represent Birmingham and showcase the best that we have to offer. Lastly, this is the deal. We need for all of you all to understand and want you to know we're all a part of a once in a lifetime moment. Our history is rich, but it's different when you look at it from the eyes of many people. You know, we are very fortunate that we are under the leadership of one of the youngest mayors in history in Birmingham. And that wasn't a mistake, it's what we wanted. And he has been very diligent in making sure to reflect this city in a way that all of us can be proud of. But one thing I love about him is the vision. And he's done some things differently, you know, with the Birmingham Promise. But most of all, what he's done is be who he is. And he's allowed Birmingham to really, really open up and look at new ways of doing things. And I'm very thankful for that. So we get a chance in 2022 to create another page in history. And that's a blessing and a gift. So we just want you all to be a part of it. And we can't thank the mayor and his team enough for supporting us.
I love this lady, y'all. It's one team, one family around here, and it goes the same between our relationship with the city of Birmingham, not just the mayor's office, but I will tell you, even though there's disagreements on things in the city, they get to a good place, and it's because the mayor's office and this city council have all worked together to ensure that we're focused to make this a once in a lifetime moment for our community. So I want to thank Mayor Woodfin, his team, Council President William Parker, and the whole council for everything that they're all doing in this moment to lean in, to make it the best ever. Thank you, Arthur.
Thank you, Nick and Renee, for that really insightful update about the World Games. For one, I'm extremely excited to see what this large and historic event has in store. And I think one event that I'm really looking forward to the most is in the martial arts category. Sumo.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
Men and women, you know that, right?
Yeah,
Not
I'm
together.
ready.
Not together.
Yeah, not together, but you know, yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. We had two questions, but you both had answered them while giving your presentation. So thank you too for the update. And I know Birmingham will come out and represent for this great event.
Thanks for having us. It's going to be a historic moment.
For sure, for sure. You guys have a good one. So today was a great day. Lots of great information all across the board. We were able to receive some great insight from each and every one of our speakers today. And personally, I want to make sure that I thank all of you for your time and your efforts to ensure that we've performed the proper due diligence in providing the right information for our community. I do want to highlight today, that today's event will be posted on the city strategy page within the next week. The website address is www.birminghamal.gov/strategy. That's www.birminghamal.gov/strategy. Now I want to go ahead and turn it back over to Chief Ed Fields, and he will give us our closing remarks. Chief?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Arthur. I'll be very brief. Before y'all head out, please hear these few remarks. First of all, let's give it up for our wonderful moderator and host, Arthur Fisher. This was like his introduction to a lot of you all, but I think he's going to be around a while in Birmingham. So we need to make sure we keep our eye on this young brother. He's doing a great job. Thank you. I also want to acknowledge the team that you don't see. There is a handful of people sitting in the conference room across the hall from me, being led by our strategy office, including Camila Gray Lewis and a host of folks around her, our Office of Public Information, as well as our Office of Governmental Affairs. We just have had a great cross-functional team to pull this together. Thank you to Nathaniel Bagley and his jazz ensemble, and everyone who really helped make this a really inclusive event. I want to acknowledge the Birmingham Land Bank. Thank you so much, Dr. Hannon, as well as Attorney Douglas. A really good presentation. I want to share a note about how we'll share those presentations shortly. And of course, to Nick and Kathy, who are really making history as we speak. So we're excited about the World Games. We will all be tuned in 1 week from today. So I want to share one quick note, and then I'll go through the next few slides. The first note is we are going to post this full presentation, but we are also going to chop this presentation up, load those pieces onto YouTube. So if you really like what you heard about World Games, you can share that link. If you really like what you heard about Land Bank, you can share that link. Let's get the word out based on what you've heard today. Now, next up, I want you all to do a couple of things for us in a call to action. One, please make sure you are following the City of Birmingham on all of our channels, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Nextdoor, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We are active there every single day. There's no reason that you do not know what's going on in the City of Birmingham. But most importantly, since you're here with us today, there's no reason why you're not sharing that with people that you influence and that you know. Be not frustrated that people don't understand what's happening. Be engaged. Two, we want you all to pull out your phones right now. Aside from following the city, we want you to follow the World Games on all of their channels. You are going to be seeing a lot of very new, different type of communication and information about the World Games starting next week. There is a lot going on. I have personally been involved. I can attest to the quality of this team and their efforts. And I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you that the sport I'm looking forward to most is bowling. Very few seats available there. I will be on there buying my tickets as soon as they go on sale. I hope you do the same. Lastly, the City of Birmingham is celebrating its 150th. There are a variety of initiatives: Milestone Monday and Throwback Thursday, the I Love Birmingham letter writing campaign, and Taking Pride Where I Reside. All this information is available online at birminghamal.gov/150. I also want to note that the City of Birmingham will throw a massive 150th summer celebration at Legion Field on Friday, July 16th, starting at 5 p.m. So mark your calendar, come join us, join the mayor, join the team to really kick off the summer celebration for the 150th, and then be on the lookout for details regarding how we close out the 150th in December and really make 2022 all about the World Games and all the great things to come. So again, you all can find more information about our strategy and strategic initiatives at our landing page at /strategy. Reach out to me directly or any one of our team members. Thank you for being engaged. Thank you for your time. And let's go win the day. Have a happy and safe Independence Day.